You know that one person. Something happens, something hurts them. And instead of saying anything, instead of starting a fight or sending a long message or asking for an explanation, they just vanish. No warning, no goodbye, no explanation. One day they are there, and the next day they are just gone. And you are left standing there wondering, did I do something wrong? Are they okay? Why won't they just talk to me? But here is what nobody tells you about the person who disappeared. They are not punishing you. They are not playing games. They are not cold or dramatic or difficult. They are someone whose nervous system learned one very specific lesson a very long time ago. And once you understand what that lesson was, everything about them will finally make sense. Let's go back to something first, because there are actually two very different kinds of people who disappear when hurt. And they look identical from the outside, but what is happening inside them is completely different. The first kind disappears because they were never taught that their pain was safe to express. The second kind disappears to protect the people around them from the weight of what they feel. Both go quiet. Both pull away. Both leave the people who love them confused and worried. But the reason behind the silence is completely different. And understanding which one you are, or which one you love, changes everything about how you respond to the disappearance. Let's talk about both. The first kind. Think about where you learned to handle hurt. Was there someone who sat with you when you were upset? Someone who said, "Tell me what happened," and actually meant it? Or did you learn early that showing pain made things worse? That crying got you told to stop? That speaking up got you dismissed? That needing comfort made the adults around you uncomfortable or irritated? Because if that is what you grew up with, your brain made a decision so early you probably do not even remember making it. Pain is private. Hurt is something you handle alone. And the moment something breaks you, the safest thing you can do is disappear before anyone sees it. Psychologists call this emotional withdrawal, and it is not a personality flaw. It is a survival response built in childhood. From learning that expressing pain was not safe, not welcome, and not going to get you what you actually needed. So, the nervous system found another way. Disappear, regroup, return when the worst is over. And it worked well enough as a child that the brain kept using it, even when the danger was no longer there, even when the people around them were nothing like the ones who dismissed them. The pattern stayed, because the brain does not update its survival strategies automatically. It keeps using what worked until something teaches it something better. Now the second kind. These people do not disappear because they are protecting themselves. They disappear because they are protecting you. They feel things so deeply, so overwhelmingly, that they are terrified of what happens if they let it out in front of someone else. They have seen what their pain looks like when it is not contained. They know how much space it takes up, how heavy it is to witness, and they love the people around them too much to put that on them. So, they go somewhere private. They cry alone. They process alone. They put themselves back together alone. And then they come back, composed and quiet, and they say, "I am fine now." Even though fine is the furthest thing from what they actually are. Here is the painful irony for this kind. The very thing they do to protect the people they love. Pulling away, going quiet, handling everything alone, is exactly what makes the people who love them feel shut out, unwanted, and helpless. They disappear to protect you, and it makes you feel abandoned. Both people in this situation are trying to love each other correctly, and both end up feeling alone. Okay, let me pause here for a second, because I want to say something honestly that most videos about this topic skip over. Disappearing when hurt is not always a trauma response. Sometimes it is wisdom. Sometimes the person who goes quiet has simply learned something that most people take years to figure out. That not every wound needs to be processed out loud. That not every person who hurts you deserves an explanation. That sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing, feel everything privately, and decide later, with a clear head, what this person and this situation actually deserve from you. That is not weakness. That is not avoidance. That is emotional discipline, and it is genuinely rare. The problem is not the disappearing itself. The problem is when the disappearing becomes the only tool available. When it is used not just for wisdom, but for every situation, including the ones that actually need a conversation to heal. Here is the thing that makes coming back so hard. The longer they stay away, the wider the gap becomes. An hour of silence becomes a day becomes a week, and now returning feels like it requires an explanation they do not have words for. So, they stay gone a little longer, not because they want to, because coming back through the door means being seen at their most vulnerable. And vulnerability, for someone who learned to disappear, is the most frightening place in the world. They are thinking about coming back. They are rehearsing what they will say. They are waiting until they feel strong enough to walk back in without falling apart. And sometimes all they need is one message that says, "I am not angry. I am just here." Whenever you are ready, that small thing means everything to someone who has spent their whole life feeling like a burden for simply existing in pain. Now here is what I want to say to both kinds of people watching this. If you are the one who disappears, I want you to hear something directly. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are not cold or difficult or impossible to love. You are someone who built a wall at an age when you had no other choice, and you have been living inside it ever since. The wall kept you safe when you needed it, but you do not have to live there forever. And if you are the person on the other side of the disappearance, waiting and confused and worried, I want to say this to you too. Their silence is not about you. Their disappearance is not a verdict on how much they love you. It is the loudest possible way of saying, "Something hurt me, and I do not know how to say that out loud yet." Stay if you can, not chasing, not demanding, just present. Because for someone who learned that people leave when things get hard, the most radical thing you can do is simply not leave. People who disappear when hurt are not easy to love. But they love in a way that is almost impossible to find. They remember every kindness shown to them when they were struggling. They show up for the people they love in ways nobody else thinks to. They feel everything so deeply that when they choose to stay, when they choose to trust, when they choose to let someone in past the wall, it is one of the most deliberate and courageous decisions a person can make. They do not need someone who understands everything about them. They just need someone who stays long enough to find out. If this felt like something you have been waiting to hear, subscribe. This channel exists for exactly that kind of understanding. See you next Sunday.